Race, class, sexuality, gender. What do these all have in common? Well, actually, a bunch, and I'm about to yap about it. So, get ready. This is a stream of consciousness video. I'm talking about intersectionality because of my Africana studies professor. We watched Paris is Burning. 10 out of 10. No note. I mean, I definitely have critiques. I will get into those. But I fairly enjoyed it, and I think it's one of the more interesting pieces that show intersectionality, basically explaining how different marginalized groups are either excluded or included in conversations. Basically, this video is going to delve into the relationship between the idealized version of queerness, the assimilation to heteronormativity, and how this impacts marginalized groups and especially Black folk. But first, we have to go over some definitions, so I'm going to speed run through them. First, we have intersectionality. Big scary word, I know. Intersectionality is a term first coined by Professor Kimberly Crenshaw back in 1989 in her essay she wrote for the University of Chicago Legal Forum, where she wrote how traditional feminist theory excludes Black women mostly because of the overlapping discrimination they face. The term was later added to the Oxford Dictionary in 2015 with the definition, quote, the interconnected nature of social categories such as race, class, and gender, regarded as creating overlapping and independent systems of discrimination and disadvantage. Just thinking about it now, I'm just thinking about how goated your writing has to be for you to coin a term in a random essay, and then it gets later put in the Oxford Dictionary. That is insane. I would never shut up. Like, never. Next, what is heteronormativity? In the National Library of Medicine, an article called Heteronormativity in the Lives of Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Queer Young People defined heteronormativity as, quote, the presumption and privileging of gender conformity, heterosexuality, and nuclear families over all other deviant forms of gender expression, sexuality, and families. It's kind of like if you were an alien and you came down to Earth and then you started living life as like a human, so you don't have to deal with any confrontation and you just try to live your normal life without disrupting the human life. I feel like that's what it kind of gives, I'm not gonna lie. Or I was just thinking about this. If you've ever seen Smallville, you know, the show about Clark Kent when he's a teenager, that gives that, because he's technically an illegal alien. That's derogatory. I don't mean it like that, but he quite literally is. He's from like what, planet Krypton? And like he is conforming. He doesn't show his powers. He tries to keep them secret in order to, I guess, seem non-threatening in a way. Yeah. I mean, I get it. You're living in Kansas. I wouldn't want to do that either. Alright, so let's talk about Fergus's piece on heteronormativity and the whole gay identity. It's a very enlightening piece, if I do say so myself. I enjoyed it. The article takes a more sociological approach, as well as still finding a way to incorporate Africana studies or just Black folk in general. I mean, I guess Africana studies is kind of sociological in a way. Like, I know it's like an interdisciplinary. Oh my god, I gotta put the word on the screen. If I put it up, that's the word. Like topic in anthropology. So I guess it's kind of the same. Anyway, I digress. Ferguson argues that white gay mainstream culture is trying to erase what is quote-unquote incoherent about queerness, aka non-white queerness, and instead police sexuality that is seen as messy or non-respectable. He explains how the view of non-white queerness as being incoherent / threatening is them not understanding its societal nuance, and what actually makes it incoherent is the intersectionality part of it all, which in turn leads to the incoherence having to be policed and regulated, mostly because they're seen as illegitimizing the idealized American citizen, consequently linking it back to the fact that things like race, gender, sexuality were being looked at as biological factors rather than social constructed factors, which is the reason why they keep getting excluded. So basically, it's like gay acceptance in the US was being segued through the Eurocentric monitor, of course excluding non-white folk, especially Black, in the US. I've always heard like the phrase race, gender being socially like constructed, but I never understood it until I read this article, especially the part where they talk about like the invention of ethnicity. I was like, oh, so it's all fake. Oh, okay. Ferguson explains how ethnicity was created during the resurgence of European immigrants. He writes that normativity constructed heteropatriarchy as the ideal mode of social relations for an industrializing United States. In the racial logic of the state, immigrants and native-born non-whites were racialized as the antithesis of heteropatriarchal ideals. So they were everything we didn't want U.S. citizens to be, basically. However, with the rise of European immigrants coming to America, Mr. Big Roosevelt, Teddy, I'm pretty sure not Franklin. If I edit this, future layer, please tell me which one it was. He said, let's scrap that, and European immigrants marrying native-born whites would be able to create a new ethnic pod of nations. I just thought about it. I'm also holding this because it's a mic, like, it's my phone, but, like, it's a mic as well. So, no confusion. But I just thought about it. It's like if you ever watched Interview with a Vampire. I might reference Interview with a Vampire a lot in this video. Please, bear with me. There's a scene, probably in the first season, when Louis is talking to his sister about Lestat, and basically, like, his sister was saying, like, he's evil, like, he's an evil white man. And then Louis gets all defensive and he's like, he's not white, he's French. And then his sister's like, oh, so fancy white. That's what that was given. Like, okay, I guess they're white, but like a different type of white. Alright.
Yeah, you and your good man making noise.
You'd have to be home to hear that.
I come home nights.
You come home some nights. Out catting with some white man out here.
He ain't white, he French.
Oh, that's a new kind of white, is it? French white?
He different.
What he's trying to say is that heterosexuality is what confirms their whiteness, creating what we know as heteronormativity. Roosevelt was basically like, you guys are different, but like not too different, so we're just gonna absorb your cultural difference and then make you the right type of white. In order to do that, you're gonna have to have a nuclear family, aka be straight. And we're gonna indoctrinate you into the heteronormative lifestyle. Perfect. The words ethnicity was built on heteropatriarchy. So you're probably like, oh, so Leia, Europeans were the new rights, right? So ethnicity is basically flexible, isn't it? No. At least not for marginalized groups, it's not. Ethnicity being socially constructed was rather seen as a litmus test for what a good citizen was and what it wasn't. In layman terms, it was like a racial vibe check. In the article, Ferguson references Robert Park's work in Racial Assimilation in Secondary Groups, where he implies that ethnic assimilation was achieved at the expense of racial exclusion. The new whites got to sit at the cool table, and marginalized groups, non-white folk, we weren't even allowed. They said it, not me. Big Teddy said it, not me, I promise. At this point, race became more of like a cultural thing rather than a biological, so to speak. So it's all a construct. You know what else is? You got it. Sexuality. The article talks about how sexuality, especially homosexuality, goes through the same type of sociological shift that race went through. In connecting again to superheroes, I'm just thinking how this can, be connected to the X-Men. Like, you can really take the villainization of the mutants and their threatening or incoherent nature and them not being good citizens as like an allegory for queerness and the marginalization of it all. Like, and don't shoot me because I genuinely think X-Men has some gay subtext in it. Like Scott, Cyclops, and Logan, Wolverine, both being in love with Jean Grey. Especially like if you've seen the X-Men universe movies, those two are a little gay, I'm not gonna lie. They are. A wise man once said, everyone's a little gay. But that's literally what Conrad Byzantine, a sociology student in 1938, said about homosexuality when he was trying to explain it from a biological perspective in his essay titled Notes on the Homosexual in Chicago, which Ferguson references in his essay as well. He explains how everyone has both feminine and masculine traits that people, normal people, I'm quoting him, can regulate and suppress such desires. So basically, you pick which sex you're attracted to. But the biological approach alone didn't explain the phenomena of some people indulging in homosexual behaviors while others didn't. So he took to the streets and examined social spaces in the south side of Chicago, where specifically African American spaces allowed for a free expression of sexuality. He even called it a space of confusion. Okay. He recounted his events at a black and tan party, listening to a mixed person in drag taking the stage and singing. And he said, quote, "It wears a white satin evening gown that reveals the unmistakable breasts of a woman. The lips are heavily painted and are so full that they make a red block against the ghostly white countenance. It is a lavish creature that strikes the normal as extremely repulsive." It is crazy. What do you mean it? I mean, he came to the conclusion that there are spaces that allow for the expression of homosexuality to run wild, not being suppressed. In particularly African American queer environments were influencing the development of sexuality, which in turn disrupted the normal Eurocentric, heteronormative social norms. Ferguson highlights the use of Byzantine's use of the phrase strikes the normal as repulsive, clearly stating black sexuality expression, specifically homosexuality, was inherently nonconformist. Ferguson continues to connect this in tandem with U.S. citizenship and the idea of coherence. In order for coherence to work and allowing gay people to have citizenship, it must be funneled through both coherence and normativity. He draws from Karl Marx's work on the Jewish question, where he talks about the religious difference set forth upon Jewish people and how the idea of coherence doesn't breed exclusion, rather privatizes it. In this case, you can be Jewish, but just don't let it interfere with the state. Basically, don't don't be publicly Jewish. Ferguson relays the same message. You can be gay, the right type of gay, just not overly gay. The type of gay that's not disruptive. This leads to the exclusion of Black people in queer spaces being accepted because it is seen as the antithesis of privatized homosexuality, leaving the only good kind, white gays. The privatization of homosexuality through the heteronormative gaze allows for what Ferguson calls polymorphous exclusion. What does this mean? Polymorphous exclusion is the exclusions happening in multiple overlapping ways, leaving a plethora of people excluded, not limited but including queer people of color, poor queer people, trans/gender non-conforming people, immigrants, sex workers, people with HIV, and single mothers. Provides a couple examples of exclusion, such as gay marriage and military inclusion. For gay marriage, which prioritizes the ideal rhetoric of the nuclear family, very white-centric. Ferguson also provides an example using military inclusion, which grants citizenship through the loyalty of the state, romanticizing hetero masculinity, particularly white masculinity, and it requires gays to be seen but not heard, which conveniently erases the lesbian identity altogether. I was writing the script, an example that really came into my head that was like blaring, especially with gay acceptance through heteronormativity and, you know, the white Eurocentric lens, was Ellen DeGeneres. Like, I feel like she's the perfect example. Like, she's white, upper class, friendly. I remember watching her growing up and I didn't even realize she was gay until I was older. Like, she was seen as funny and friendly and her queerness was not disruptive. She didn't blare it out. She wasn't overly gay. The success of Ellen DeGeneres in particular to me reminds me of how even the visibility of marginalized groups are secularized through Eurocentric views, which prioritize white supremacy first and foremost. While writing the script, I was thinking about different aspects of media and pop culture that perfectly encapsulate all the things that I presented in the video and in Ferguson's article. So I'm gonna yap about them now. Yay! I feel like the most obvious one is Pose and Paris is Burning. And I'm not ashamed to say I like both of those, okay? So we're gonna talk about it, especially pertaining to intersectionality. Pose is an FX original that's basically like a dramatized version of Paris is Burning. I keep forgetting that I have to hold the mic. Sorry. It follows Bianca, the main character, who becomes the mother of House Bianca, if I'm pretty sure. Future Lara, please tell me if I made a mistake. That'd be embarrassing. And it's set in 1980s New York, just like Paris is Burning. And it's everything ballroom. Again, just like Paris is Burning. But yeah. Side note, my favorite character in Pose is Elektra, played by Dominique Jackson. She's quite literally mother. I think she's like mother of House Elektra. But like she's mother, like icon. Yeah. Character Angel. That's all I have to say. Just Angel. Like, she is the perfect person to use for this. Let's get into it. Angel, as an Afro-Latin trans sex worker, develops a relationship with one of her clients, Stan, a white married Wall Street worker. They have a conversation, I believe, in like season 1 about the relationship, and Angel's trying to figure Stan out, and the scene is just Chef's kiss. Like, just roll the clip. Just roll the clip. Just roll the clip.
What are you?
I'm no one. I want what I'm supposed to want, I wear what I'm supposed to wear, and I work what I'm supposed to work. I stand for nothing. I've never fought in a war, and I probably won't ever have to, because the next one's gonna kill us all. I can buy things I can't afford, which means they're never really mine. I don't live. I don't believe. I accumulate. I'm a brand. A middle-class white guy. But you're who you are, even though the price you pay for it is being disinvited from the rest of the world. I'm the one playing dress-up. Is it wrong to want to be with one of the few people in the world who isn't? To have...
We see Stan, a closeted man, trapped in the heteronormative prison of his life. He literally says to Angel, he is no one. He envies Angel, who continues to be herself no matter what adversity she goes through. We have Stan, basically a cookie-cutter white guy, working on Wall Street, who has a wife, middle class, fairly attractive, who is stuck in this hetero prison because he's closeted, but he benefits from it. And now we have Angel, which is like the marginalized community final boss. Like, she's queer, she's a trans woman, she's a sex worker, and she's Afro-Latin. And we see her throughout the course of the entire series go through adversity, and she still manages to express herself in a non-conformist way. What is so pivotal about that key relationship, even though it's like it lasts for maybe 3 episodes in season 1 before she gets with Poppy, but I think it's like the clear distinction between white queerness and POC queerness perfectly, unlike Paris is Burning, which, not to get all bell hooks on y'all, but you know, there's definitely some problems with it, especially the portrayal. But you know, it is coming from a white queer person, so yeah. I'm doing it again. I'm talking about the show that I told you that I was going to talk about again. We're doing it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm sorry. Another reference to the idea of queerness, especially in intersectionality, you guessed it, Interview with the Vampire, which I might add is probably the best example of how you make race bending work in media. Y'all can't fight me, no shade, no shade, that's crazy. They ate with it. I'm sorry, they did. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting too excited. The mere thought of making the main character black in 1900s New Orleans, prime Jim Crow era, peak Jim Crow era. Quick side note while I'm editing the video, I don't think you understand how pivotal Louis being race bended is. Quite literally, I have the book. He quite literally was, I think it was set in the 1700s. It was set in the 1700s, and he was a slave owner. What? And you're whining about your life and Lestat, and you're a slave owner? They had to change that. And then they changed it to a black Creole man in prime Jim Crow era. Anne Rice is that bless that Southern lady's heart, bro. I know she's rolling in her grave right now.
But yeah, that's just what I was thinking. Sorry. And also, like, it just gives more depth to his character. Like, yeah.
And having him display his struggles and combat them through his development as a vampire, I don't know. It's just chef's kiss. He's dealing with being a gay man, first closeted and then openly gay, in Jim Crow era New Orleans, as a man working as a pimp, basically. Okay, walk with me with this theory, or at least I'ma get there, okay? I'ma land. I'm gonna say that his version of coherent citizenship, or trying to seem as the good type of queer or just citizen in general, is warped in a way he almost subverts it, I'm not gonna lie. Louis de Pontelac, the main character, is trying to be heteronormative in order to pass per se, which I find extremely interesting because not only is he wealthy, but he's presenting himself as ultra masculine, almost machismo type of caricature. I mean, he's literally a pimp. But I'm not gonna lie, I literally just thought about it in my head. Louis is quite literally a dandy. Like, I hope I put up like pictures of him. Like, he is dandy down. Like, I'm just thinking about it now. But anyways, even though he's wealthy, upper class, ultra masculine, he's also black and queer. Whereas Lestat, which is basically like his love interest slash antagonist slash God, I don't even know how to explain him. Anyway, Lestat, a French white queer, openly queer man, asserts himself as excessive, sexually deviant, and overtly homosexual. But he's able to demand respect, unlike Louis. But that's because he's white, remember? It shows how racialized queerness remains incoherent and dangerous even when it seems respectable. We can go further by saying that Lestat's sexual expression is only allowed through the privatization, i.e. vampirism, something secular, something marginalized groups, i.e. humans, don't have direct access to. We only see Louis revolt against the extremely racist elected officials trying to squander his business only after he gets turned into a vampire. I'll probably put the clip. So yeah, hopefully future Leia, please put the clip.
It is fortunate. I'll let you reload.
He ate that, I'm not gonna lie. He said, I'm gonna let you reload. He said, I'm gonna let you reload. Go ahead, Mr. Dulac. You got it. To conclude, white people are evil. No, okay. But jokes aside, Ferguson was able to give us an important look on the acceptance of queer people and how its development and its exposure doesn't inadvertently mean liberation. It instead breeds exclusion. I fear Ferguson just wanted us to start looking at things more intersectionally. He did a bunch of yapping, but that was his main point. I promise. Too often, marginalized groups are thrown to the side and their activism is essentially whitewashed, whether it's through feminism, only including white women and excluding misogynoir, or homophobia, only being taken seriously in white spaces. Also how the rhetoric of heteronormative seeps into the black community as well. I know I said, or well, Ferguson said, black queer spaces are more freely expressive, but through the black hetero lens, we need to do some work. Like, I don't know how many times I've heard, either in rap songs or in interviews, particularly from either male rappers or just black men, where they will say, or they'll talk about gay people and they'll say they're not with that gay shit. Oh my god.
Again, side note, I realized I didn't talk about, I just like did a critique on black men, but like it's like the entire community. Like even like there's like black women who say that they're non-homophobic, but then we have the whole resurgence with like the DL whisperer, and like if your man is cheating on you, he's DL, he's gay. Very odd. And then like that like meme that they put in comment sections. Wait, let me find it. That meme? Yeah. That's homophobia. Yeah, just a quick side note and clarification. Sorry.
Or the old classic, I'm okay with gay people. Just, keep it in the privacy of your own home. What are we talking about? Please, that is frying me. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I can literally name off the top of my head like 3 instances where I can see just blatant homophobia from the community, bro. I'm just thinking like Young Thug. I hope I put the clip. Young Thug, the baby. Oh my god. And like Lil Wayne unironically saying the F slur in his raps. Like what the oh my god. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my yap sesh. If I missed anything or if I didn't explain anything, I would love to hear some critiques. I don't know. I'm probably gonna make this like whole thing public. It's a pretty fun video. I don't know. Kind of spooky though. But yeah. I literally was in flow state writing that script, so it's just like I told you in the beginning, it's a stream of consciousness, okay? Deal with it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye.